So let's talk about the 3 approaches to treat digestive issues. And I get the sense that many of you have gone through some of these treatment options before you came and found me. So here are the 3 common approaches. So number 1 being the conventional medical route. That's something that a lot of people have experienced before already. The second one is something that's really popular right now, known as the functional medical route, functional medicine. And I'll go into elaborate a little about what that is. And the third route being the more holistic integrative approach. And so let me break down into what each of those mean. All right, so many of you have experienced this conventional medicine route, where doctors will prescribe a medication if you have an infection, maybe an antibiotic. If you're having acid reflux, maybe some antacids or Pepcid or PPIs. Or if you're having bowel digestive issues, constipation, they'll suggest some laxatives or stool softeners and other medication for regulating bowel movement. And again, a lot of these medications, while can be useful for treating the symptoms, really doesn't get to the root cause of it. That sometimes the antibiotics or even PPIs can have later issues and consequences down the line. And so here's the thing, I want to say I'm not against medication. I think there's a time and place for those, especially antibiotics has saved a lot of lives from infection before. So I'm not anti-medication. I am just not for pushing medication as the only or the first option oftentimes. And so if there are alternatives, I think it needs to be more studied and more suggested in our medical healthcare system. Now, tests that oftentimes conventional doctors will do includes gastroenterologists. And I know that you and I I was explaining to you the difference between a qualitative stool test versus a quantitative stool test, which is what the GI map is, right?
Right.
And so, okay, so this is the conventional medical route. And maybe sometimes doctors might even recommend some nutritional guidance, even though that's really not something that and they might do this. Doctors in their 10 years of medical school, unless they really focus on nutrition and functional nutrition, they have 1 semester of nutrition class and 10 years of residency in medical school, right? And so unfortunately, that's just not part of their training. But you might have some doctors recommend something like an elimination diet, FODMAP, maybe avoiding specific foods like spicy or supplement, or a generic. The traditional conventional medicine approach is still at. Now, love to hear from some of you. What was your experience? Maybe like briefly, you don't have to go into the whole thing, but what was your, like, when you first had a GI issue, which one of these were you suggested?
Well, I'll start. This is Susan. I think he made me take 3 to start. And then they went through the FODMAP thing and everything that you talked about, conventional medicine, they did with me, and none of it worked.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's my story.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yvette or Natasha?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is Yvette, and for me, it was first with the conventional meds. That was one of the first things, and then after that came the colonoscopy because it did not help me at all. I mean, and buying the stool softens, the whole 9 yards. I've been up and down the chart. So after that, it was a colonoscopy. They saw some polyps or whatever and did what they need to do. After there, it just went in a routine. So I knew that wasn't working for me. I was lacking a nutritionist, and that's what I think that was going on for me, that they didn't suggest was having a nutritionist.
Right. Yeah. So when even I've worked in hospitals before, and doctors we're here to support patients, and sometimes they're whether it's ego, whatever it might be, they're just like, oh yeah, you can see a nutritionist if you want to, not
they speak to where they speak to you in a medical form,
Right.
thinking that you're supposed to overstand and understand what they're talking about.
Right.
Going, no, I'm only understanding this. I don't get it.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's why I always ask them to break it all down for me and
Yeah.
chop it up where I can, understand what's going on.
For sure. For sure. And Natasha, I know you've had your rounds of PPIs.
I did. At one point, they had me on, I think, 80 milligrams of PPI a day.
My God.
And it didn't fix anything. If anything, it made my symptoms a lot worse. And then I also had a colonoscopy, or not a colonoscopy, sorry, an endoscopy. And they found severe inflammation in my esophagus. But they never really gave me any real answers except for like cut chocolate or cut tomatoes and caffeine and spicy foods. But I think I'm learning from working with Sherry that really wasn't the fix, because I'm able to eat certain, it's not really triggering. So it was definitely deeper than what I was told by my doctors.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing once we actually heal the gut lining that it's not about the food set food triggers. Definitely. That's the conventional route. And so that's one very common approach, what our current healthcare system is at right now. Now, the alternative, and one alternative that's getting more and more popular is, maybe you've heard this word before. Functional. Have you guys heard that term before?
Yes.
Yeah, functional. So maybe it's just something that's more and more in the market right now, but functional medicine, right, is using more enhanced testing in order to find, to find what the optimal range is, rather than just what the average normal range is. And so it has more testing. And the goal of that is to find out what the root cause is. Okay. So hear that word root cause in a lot of marketing for functional medicine. And I will say it is more extensive testing, right? So perhaps for gut health specifically, this is where we do a comprehensive blood panel. I do this as well. I have a functional approach in practice. I will use a quantitative stool testing, which is the GI map test that I use. There's other ones out there in the market as well. Maybe someone will do some food sensitivity or allergy testing. Could be helpful in identifying inflammatory markers and things like that. Other functional medicine tests related but not directly related with gut could be hormone and endocrine testing, right? Checking the thyroid, all those adrenal, including cortisol, DHEA, and even micronutrients to look at absorption, maybe some genetics, toxicity panels, right? Looking at heavy metals, pesticides, all the things, right? And so it can be really helpful getting all this testing done, see what's causing issues. I do think functional medicine is a much more helpful approach than conventional medicine. The challenge with functional medicine is, if you look at all this testing, first of all, a lot of it not covered, right, by our healthcare system. So people are paying out of pocket for all of these testings. So it can get really expensive. And original intent of functional medicine, like in theory, functional medicine focuses on identifying the root cause of health issues instead of just treatment symptoms, which is what conventional medicine is. And so by examining the complex interplay of lifestyle, environment, genetics, emotional factors, functional medicine practitioners develop comprehensive strategies to restore balance and promote optimal health. Love it. I believe in that. I agree with that. Right, in theory. And for me, I practice that because I actually talk about emotional factors and environmental aspects and lifestyle, right? What we're seeing though, while there are a lot of great doctors out there, great functional practitioners out there, just like there's a lot of great dietitians out there, some are really trying to take advantage of from functional medicine, right? And what I'm seeing clients come to me after with the functional provider is that they are being put on really restrictive nutrition plans that do detoxes and cleanses. Very restrictive, could be like no preservatives or oils or any processed foods, cutting out a lot of things, could be some FODMAP, but more than anything is the extensive amount of supplements that clients are then put on. I had literally a client come to me with 20 supplements that they were put on by a functional medical provider. And here's the thing. Yes, I believe in supplements as supplements and not as been process. Right. And so, And so I think it's, no process. I think I put this quote, I'm quoting myself because I think it's really ironic that some functional provider will say, hey, don't eat any of this processed food, but buy this list of 20 supplements that I have in my store.
Mhm.
Right. And so I think while the theory of functional medicine is a great concept, the practice of it has, for some providers, has been distorted because they're making a profit replacement from big pharma with supplements from the supplements companies. Right. And so again, I believe in the theory of it. I think in practice it's really important still to have a more holistic perspective. And while I do practice from functional medicine, I expand that to love to break down for you what that looks like. For me, holistic and integrative means addressing the root cause by establishing healthy rhythms in mind, body, and spirit. And so that for me is what holistic entails. It has to be a whole, right? Where our bodies are our mind, body, and spirit. And let me elaborate a little bit on that. Rooted Rhythm Method really is about nutrition strategy, a protocol addressing the physical components, as well as the sustainable lifestyle habits. And we've talked about this with those that have been with me for a while. Nervous system regulation, addressing the psychological components. And for me, I realized the whole purpose of these group huddles is the communal and spiritual in terms of purpose and belonging and encouraging for that. I'll elaborate a little bit more on that means. And for me, spiritual just means purpose, right? It doesn't necessarily apply to any religion or faith. It's really purpose and belonging. Okay, so personal nutrition strategy, personalized, and I use the term affirmative approach because it's not just about what to eliminate, what to limit, or to take away. It's about what we can add, right, in order to give our bodies the nutrients it needs to heal itself. And so that looks different for each person. That might not mean that doesn't mean just, I think I'm looking at, it doesn't mean we're just sugar. It doesn't mean we're just like taking away something you love, but can we add and still find relief and improve in symptoms? And we've been able to do that, which is awesome. Non-dieting, because we know that diets don't work. When I create a nutrition strategy with each of you, it's really about being personalized and sustainable, realistic, rather than just another diet. Mindful eating is really important, especially for gut issues. We know that when we are eating distracted, when we are not allowing bodies to send signals to release digestive enzymes and acids and different stuff, it poses more challenges in the digestive system. And so mindful eating, I know with Natasha, we've used tools of like identifying the types of hunger, ways to get grounded so that we are able to be present with our food and our meals, because we live in a culture that's constantly go, go, go. And I've definitely been guilty of that, just like eating on the go in the car. And so finding ways to practice more intentional or culturally responsive, because I think nutrition has to be relevant to our culture and our upbringing. I hate it when nutritionists are like, here's a meal plan and go follow it, and there's no consideration of what our cultural experiences are. And so I think it's really important that we honor from energy that actually honors that value rather than bypasses it. And so it's got to be realistic, it's got to be sustainable. So that's when I'm thinking about creating a nutrition strategy with clients, that's what I think about when it's to integrating nutrition strategy. Any questions about that? I know I kind of went through that kind of quickly. Next part is the supplement protocol. For me, I think it is, of course, something that I've developed over the 14 years I've been in the nutrition field, of selecting personalized testing as needed rather than having this blanket of doing everything all at once, which can be very overwhelming, and working with clients to know which testing would actually be beneficial for them, and prescribing a supplement protocol that is based on that testing or whatever symptoms they're coming to me with. And so I'm a big proponent of supplements, but no more than 5 at a time. I honestly, I haven't gone past 5 for any clients I've, worked with in over a decade, just because it just can be so overwhelming just trying. I see you rolling your eyes, Susan. It can be a lot. It can be a lot. And I know even with 5 would be a lot for some people. So yeah, that's something I think I really try to, of course, if there are certain things that would be really helpful, then I consider that. But generally, my supplements are meant to supplement, not to replace. Okay. And my ultimate goal is for someone to not need any or minimal amount of supplements, right? So that's for me how I view a supplement protocol. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay, lifestyle habits, right? Definitely a key aspect in gut healing, because again, we can resolve the symptoms with some supplements and nutrition, but if the other aspects of life is actually what's causing some of the issues, then the symptoms are just going to come back. So whenever you work with me, we're going to be talking about sleep, movement, exercise, hydration, right? If there are challenges in meal prepping, shopping, we're going to talk about that. Phone use for some people and the impact of that in sleep, in attention and anxiety. So these are aspects of lifestyle that is also addressed when we're talking about my approach in holistic nutrition. I'm really big fan of utilizing proven behavior change techniques rather than just like telling people, hey, you got to start exercising every day. That's just not realistic for someone who has experienced fatigue and chronic pain. How do we actually have 1 degree of change and make it realistic and SMART goals so that it's achievable? And we use tools like habit stacking and accountability to actually be able to make this sustainable. For me, this is huge. This is really important rather than just putting supplements on an issue either. Okay. And so, yeah, for those that have worked with me for a while, we go into several of these aspects as well. All right, I'm going to move right along to this next session. For a fact, 99.9% of doctors aren't talking about this. Right. We know that there's an intricate connection between our brain and our being in mind how our mental health and emotional health impacts our digestive health. Okay. And so with clients, I'm doing therapeutic tools. I'm not a therapist, but there are certain tools that I've been trained in to be able to support clients in using cognitive behavior therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, and acceptance. 90% of serotonin and 50% of dopamine stored in the gut.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so we'll look at, what are some limiting beliefs? Where is some of these concepts about food and nutrition coming from, or beliefs coming from, so that we're no longer are at behavior childhood traumas and different things when it comes to talking about food, right? But that's part of the work when we're talking about how to actually heal. It's healing our gut, but also healing in a holistic way to be able to feel safe in our bodies, to be able to fuel our bodies. And that could be tools like any of those I mentioned, as well as the hunger awareness dialogue, which is a tool I'll go into later next time. I know that's something like our first session with Natasha, that was like a really helpful tool, identifying the type of hunger that we're experiencing, if it's a physical hunger versus a head hunger versus a heart hunger. And I'll spend a whole session on that as well. Embodiment, how can we be more in tune? Just as Yvette said, how can we be in tune with what our bodies are telling us and listen and respond to that rather than these external voices telling us what to do? Okay. So that is behavior lifestyle change and nervous system regulation. Any thoughts or questions on that? Like what you on either of these aspects? The behavior, the lifestyle habits, or the nervous system regulation?
I would say all of the above. The one that really stands out, I mean, they all truly do stand out, and Sherry knows, because just combining movement along with mindfulness and therapy. But the biggest one has been therapy for me. And I share that vulnerably in the sense that I started doing trauma-informed therapy about 2 years ago. And that made such a difference in how I approach food, and even finding somebody like Sherry who also uses similar tools that my therapists do to help get to the root cause of my relationship with food and my gut healing journey as well. So I just wanted to share that. And just meditation and yoga. Yoga has been a big game changer for me, in case anybody hasn't tried it or you've been curious about it, specifically yin yoga. And it just really allows my body to just reconnect with my brain and to really just build a stronger relationship there. So if anyone's been curious about that, I highly recommend yin yoga.
So cool. Thank you for sharing vulnerably. And yeah, it's cool too, just to see your journey and adding different tools to your toolkit. I know the yoga has been like a more new thing, but it's just so cool to see how that's been even taking your, healing journey further. So thank you for sharing that.
I'm really interested in finding out, having a whole session on hunger awareness, because that is a big deal with me, because sometimes sometimes I just am bored, or sometimes I just need something else to do. I'm not hungry. I'm just eating to eat. So I'm looking forward to that session.
Awesome.
And yoga is helpful. I do some of it at the end of my cardio stuff. I've got a yoga teacher that teaches cardio, so she's been implementing yoga too, and I never wanted to do it because it's very calm, and I'm not a very calm person. I'm fidgety, but it's helping me. It is. So I agree with her on that as well. So hunger awareness, I'm ready for that.
Okay, that's good to know. We will definitely on that soon.
Yep, and grounding and mindfulness is the key for me. That's taught me going forward what to do, because I was taught so much that if you didn't do certain things, you were this, that, and the other. So I had to get certain things out of my mind in order for me to learn how to be grounded and learn how to breathe. I thought when you were breathing, but no, I didn't know the great help of deep breathing and what that does to clean your lungs and all the things, and to calm you down and all those things. So I was born in a time where if you didn't do certain things, you got called a certain thing. If you didn't do this, you were lazy. If you didn't do that, you were this, So just coming out of the mindset of, I was born in the 50s, raised in the 60s, 70s, that sort of a thing. So it was very strict about certain things. So I had to come out of the mindset of certain things in order for me to be able to understand how things really relate one to the other. So the grounding and mindfulness for me, that would be a great thing. And meditation and prayer, that worked for me.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing that. It's so cool to hear all the ways you guys are practicing, engaging in this. It's such a key aspect for gut healing. And I feel I can sense in this group that this is like, you guys have all been doing the work in this, in your various ways. So that's so awesome. Yeah, awesome. Very good. Very good. Okay. So nutrition, supplement protocol, sustainable lifestyle, nervous system regulation. There's more and more research from the World Health Organization and from the Harvard studies that social health actually the primary indicator for longevity and happiness. And it's something that I think needs to be more and more talked about. And especially, I think, highlighted through the pandemic, in the isolation that people felt really impacted their physical health and their mental health. And so the quality of our relationships, having meaningful relationships, health, that actually is one of the primary things that we see as well. I wrote down, even for some people who engage in perhaps spiritual practices or meditative practices, even monks chanting the tonal vibration actually impacts it signals to our brain to start releasing digestive enzymes. And so actually one of the practical things, if you're having a hard time with digestion, is we encourage people to, hey, hum a song or hum happy birthday. That stimulates your body and prepares it actually to be able to consume food and be able to release enzymes. And so it's really fascinating, the more research we find in the practice of chanting, prayer, humming, that itself, the vibrations of that practice can benefit your digestion. And I'm happy to pull up the studies for that, but it's just really fascinating that there's built-in physical benefits for these spiritual practices. Yeah, absolutely. And it could, maybe for some people, spiritual practice means going on a hike and connecting with nature. Could be nature walks or forest baths. For some people, going to the gym feels like church, right? Like for some people, going to dance class. I'm a dancer, so dance feels like somewhere where I can move and release, right? Yoga also being a practice. And so spiritual practice can look very differently, but we do know that there's a direct impact in both communal and spiritual health on the physical and mental emotional health. And so creating this gut healer group is just my little way of trying to incorporate that in gut healing, because I do believe that when we have this space that's safe, that is encouraging, that we can go further, right? Because I really do believe in this proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? And so hopefully, as you join the program or join these groups, it's a touch point of encouragement to continue this journey and know that you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
That's it for today. All right, sneak peek to next time. How did this approach come about? I want to share my personal story. That's me when I was 3. So yeah, join us next time, and I look forward to seeing everybody again soon. All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Talk soon.
See you
Bye.
next time.
See you next time.